on to Race Central Unplugged, Episode 4, Segment 1. I'm your host, Sydney Corra, right next to longtime motorsports insider Kurt Hansen. Kurt, it's good to see you again.
You too. How's the 20-degree weather and 6 inches of snow treating you on your end?
It's making everything 10 times more difficult and 10 times less enjoyable.
Agreed, which is why I'm going to go to Arizona, back to Arizona in about 2 weeks now for a charity fundraiser event that I'm involved with. My good friend Jason Kiernan started a 501c3 called Limbs of Dreams, providing limbs for people that can't afford to buy the cool stuff. And it's going to be a lot of fun, but that's not what we're here for.
And
anyway.
Well, what's that? We have that guy on the show.
Yes.
We've had him on twice.
Yeah, and he's really doing a lot of great work. He lost his leg in a motorcycle accident, and how difficult it was for him to get. And he can afford this stuff. It's hard to get. There's a lot of channels to get through, and so he decided to start this foundation at the limbofdreams.org for more information, as we say in the industry, so that people that can't navigate all the bullshit and the cost, and he's got his second annual event coming up on January 4th. Check that, December 14th in Phoenix, Arizona. And some luminaries like Buddy Rice and some people that are very involved with the foundation and stuff will be there. And I'm really excited to go. So
he's a big motor racing fan, right?
Massive.
Yeah.
I spent all championship weekend with him. Then we went out to the World Final Boat Drags and did an interview with him, a streaming interview. He loves to be interviewed because when I interview him, I'm obviously very good, but he breaks down every time. It's really difficult for him to talk about, and I understand. Yeah. It's a super good-looking, athletic guy. When I met him in the lobby at the Hyatt in Long Beach at the Grand Prix.
Right.
And I thought he was a Marine because he looks like a badass Marine.
Yeah.
And it really changed his life. So, and he's trying to help change other people's lives for the better. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. And when are you going down there to do that?
December 14th.
December 14th. Okay.
Yeah. So that's 12 weeks. But I'll be back in time for you to screw up my Friday radio show on ESPN.
Okay, you're not missing.
Just kidding.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get right into our first topic today, which is autonomous race cars. Tell me all about this because I am just clueless.
Well, I could probably go on for days about this because I had a totally different show planned. But from my, 2 decades-ish of involvement with the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, being on the board of directors for almost a decade, we saw the evolution of electric cars, EVs, start to play a major role in the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb. And the early cars had a lot of battery problems. Actually, our 6 or 7 time champion, Tajima, almost burned to death in his electric vehicle trying to get up the mountain. But they didn't make any noise. So they had to actually put like ambulance sirens on them because idiots run across the road between cars and you can't hear them coming. So they had to, they had to put noise on them because somebody was going to get killed. But that's kind of aside the point.
Well, sounds pretty dangerous.
So, Sid, a great point. Not only is it incredibly dangerous, to say the least, and it's always been a problem at the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb of idiots getting up on the mountain. They get hypoxia. They do stupid things. They act like they're drunk, or even more likely, in most cases, they are drunk because they've been up there forever partying on the side of the road. There's no noise. And so this is my long diatribe into autonomous cars. But electric vehicles have become very, very popular. Colorado is one of the leading states in America for the purchase of EVs.
Yeah,
I get it. And, of course, there's Formula E now, which is the electric version of Formula One. It is incredibly boring. It is like it's like watching dead people have sex. Well, it's a good thing we're unplugged, right?
Yeah, unrated and unplugged, folks.
That's right. Over the double yellow line, as I would say. It's just boring.
Yeah.
And I've talked to many drivers.
Are there drivers in them?
No, they got drivers in them.
Yeah. Okay.
But the technology early on was half the race you had to pit. Everybody had to pit to get in another car that had enough batteries to finish the race. So it's kind of like watching the Super Bowl and having to change TVs in the middle of the Super Bowl because the batteries in your TV are dying. Maybe a bad analogy, but I've never found it very exciting. My dearly departed and good friend, Justin Wilson, drove Formula E for Andretti Autosports, a decade or so ago. And this is the guy that drove Formula One, won IndyCar races, maybe one of the top drivers on the IndyCar series. He said, Kurt, it's just not ultra exciting. As I finally was trying to get to my point. So, and Robert Height, who's a great guest on our show all the time, Fridays from 3 to 5 on ESPN Radio, AM 1600, and streaming around the country and around the globe at racecentralmedia.com. Shameless plug. I brought this up with Robert a year or so ago. I said, Robert, what do you think? Part of the thrill of racing is the sensory overload, the sights, the sounds, the smells, all the stuff that makes, everything in your body intensify, and the excitement. That's part of it all. Right. When you remove the sound, it's like watching paint dry. I'm sorry. And I asked Robert, I said, what, heaven forbid. I said, okay, so you go to an NHR race, and okay, funny cars in the lane, they're staged. Winner in the right-hand lane. Part of the sensory overload, is the excitement. As I made jokes, if you had a kidney stone before a top fuel round and you were close enough to the starting line, once they left the starting line, the shake, the shudder, the thunder, you would not have a kidney stone after that pass because it's pretty intense. I said to Robert, what if drag racing goes electric?
Yeah.
He couldn't say it fast enough. It's over.
Yeah.
It's done. It just kills the sport. So Formula E, I guess, is exciting to somebody. It's not done well in TV ratings and such. I will get to my point eventually. The Europeans go, I guess. The race in Canada had to be canceled a couple of years ago. They said because of COVID, but because nobody cared. Whatever. But what concerns me now, and the conversation that was had today at the Racing Industry Week, is a little concerning to me. I understand the technology. Racing is a test bed for technology. Yeah. And in the past, though, up until now, it's been go faster, more aerodynamic, more excitement, better grip, but it's never been really talking about removing the driver. I mean, basically what you've got now is slot car racing, and they tested these autonomous Indy cars about a year ago at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and I think they just had another test. Said the kid, would you go to the Indy 500 to watch 33 cars go around with no drivers and no noise?
No.
Okay.
So these are electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles with no driver.
With no driver. Okay, right. So there's no sound and no driver.
No, basically think of it as
Okay, hold on. This is like taking the badass out of motorsports. Yeah. What is this? Is this a robotics tournament? Like yes. This is not a high school robotics competition.
No, this is drone racing.
Dude, what?
Yeah. And I understand the technological side. I get it. They're doing a lot of this kind of stuff. They say for the military, which I get.
For the military? What does that have to do with the military?
Well, they're building, like San Francisco Police Department just announced that they're going to use robotic dogs. They're operated by operators at the police command center to tell the dogs, which I don't have a problem with. This is safety. This is protecting people so that officers, God bless them, don't get shot. Yeah. Trying to roll up on some crackhead that lives in Golden Gate Park. I'm from the Bay Area. I can say that. Or, they can guard.
Hey, folks.
Yeah, or they can guard people from stepping in piles of human feces on the sidewalk, which I witnessed, which was really exciting. Anyway, that's a whole other topic for another podcast. But so now they're talking about autonomous race cars, driverless. There can't be any sound, because the only sound that might come is somewhat mechanical, because they still have to have gears, turn the wheels, and all that stuff. And they got to have batteries, and it's like we were watching the Lexus RX 350s running around Scottsdale. I watched them with my own two eyes. Yeah. They're white, they're all over the place, and initially they had drivers in the driver's seat, but they didn't do anything. You just saw this Lexus mid-size SUV, driving around, and it didn't work out so well in a lot of cases. But now that your pizza is going to get delivered by a robot car, and I don't know, it reminds me of the movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger was in a long time ago. I think it was Schwarzenegger, Total Recall. That was Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah. And they were in what looked like a Prius, looking back, with a robot driving, talking to them, doing like this. I mean, I guess what we've done, everything's gone full circle now. But if they, I'm wondering if this is just technology for technology's sake, and they're using motor racing as a test bed, as it has always been a test bed. The old saying goes, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. I get it. That was generated way back, in the 70s, primarily in the Trans Am series, because that was all manufacturer-backed cars.
Yes, I have a question. So what do you mean, like, motorsports has always been a testing ground? Like, what? Can you give me some examples?
Well, so to test better tires, test oils, to test better performance, making engines more efficient, aerodynamics, how to make the car slipperier in the air so they go faster using less horsepower. Motor racing has always been a test bed for a lot of stuff. But I'm concerned that if this thing gets out of control, and now we just start, and I got a lot of feedback from people during the early days of the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb with the electric cars. I mean, there's hardcore people up. They camp overnight. They freeze their ass off. They're up there for 40 hours, 48 hours sometimes because of the weather. And there's one road in and one road out, and it's brutal. They're like, why? What? But I can say this, and maybe this is a little bit too much over the double yellow line, but the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb is driven by revenue, much like any race. It's no different. And they were getting huge manufacturer money to send teams and drivers in electric vehicles to test them on the 156 turns, the 15 miles-ish of the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb and the road that goes to the top. So I get it, but dollars drove them. And once they start rolling out, autonomous NASCAR Cup cars, never going to happen. Or drag race, NHRA, never going to happen. Sports cars, never going to happen. IndyCar is never going to happen. But let me rephrase. It could happen. And the fact that this is getting so much, attention these days, what makes racing exciting and drove me to the sport of motorsports and to race competitively for so long, the sight, the smell, the interaction, the aggressive attack on the senses, and to root for my heroes, the driver, every weekend. Take all the sight, smell, sound out, take the driver out, you got drone racing. And I guess ESPN puts it on. I've never been excited.
Of course they're going to put it on.
Well, yeah.
Of course they're going to put it on.
But would you watch it? Would you watch drone racing?
No. I mean, this is really, this is an interesting topic and conversation, and it's unfortunate, but, given the landscape, political and social landscape that we're sort of in right now in America and across the world, I think people are looking for anything that they can to sort of like to tear down to sort of like push their own like agenda. And so I think NASCAR or like any sort of motorsport is like, it's like prime time for people to attack. And so I think that like the motorsports world needs to be ready to defend itself and needs to be ready to fight back, because as we move more into this real intense time regarding, you know, things like climate change, the topic of climate change, of course, people are just
lowering your carbon footprint.
Yeah. People are going to reach for low-hanging fruit. They're going to reach for low-hanging fruit, and they always try and go after things that really don't make that big of a difference, but it's the low-hanging fruit. So, and then, you know, it's just interesting because we had the guy on, he's great. He's sick. He came on, he actually went to Congress to... Oh,
boy. I don't remember, but yeah, I mean, we've had so many great guests. It's like, it's all a blur. But yeah, I mean,
but he went to Congress to fight for whatever sport that, whichever racing he does. And yeah,
that was Antron Brown.
Yes, Antron Brown.
Yeah, your two-time NHRA Top Fuel champion. Yeah, he went because they're trying to. Well, they're trying to. I'm going to say something really out of line. Sorry, Sid. I mean, motor racing could be the low-hanging balls. Like when I see those stupid-ass trucks going down the road with fake bull balls, hitch. And yeah, it's green and it's this and it's that and carbon footprint. But here's the reality of it. Motorsports globally is a zillion-dollar industry. And if they start to just, make motorsports a test bed for drone racing, motor racing in the automotive industry are one of the top 5 leading economic indicators in the country. With racing and car sales, do the countdown. You got paint, you got tires, you got oil, you got this, you got that. Napa Auto Parts, look at the globalness of what racing and the automotive industry does in terms of the trickle-down effect or the ripple effect economically. That's one of the ways they judge how the economy is doing. New housing starts, car sales. And motorsports is kind of right there. I don't know. I hope it's not going to happen. I'm not trying to be Nervous Nelly or, Debbie Downer or whatever. But it would be, I don't know. I'm a little concerned because it seems like we're getting all excited about technology for technology's sake and kind of forgetting what motorsports is all really about. And on that note, because I've meandered all over the place, let's change the topic. I'm going to go play darts. My dartboard's right there.
That's all you have to say about the autonomous cars?
Yeah.
More to come.
I didn't think Total Recall was a great movie, and I don't want, a robot in a Prius taking me around. Taking me to a race to watch autonomous race cars with no sound and no driver.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it's an interesting topic, and it's something that will probably be discussed a lot in the coming years.
Well, I'm going to reach out and see if I can get one of these guys to come on our radio program every Friday from 3 to 5 Mountain on AM 1600. Here we go with that plug again, here in the Mile High and streaming around the country and around the globe, as millions do at racecentralmedia.com. I hope I made some decent points there. I kind of meandered, but it's a topic that's kind of mind-boggling. There we go, and mind-boggling too.
Well, definitely lots to unpack with that one. I'm sure we'll get back to that topic, but we'll take a break here and then we'll come back and we'll talk IndyCar. So stick with us, and we'll be right back in just a short moment. Welcome back into the show. It's Race Central Unplugged. It's time for our second segment. Let's not waste any time here, Kurt, and why don't you get right to some Trans Am talk?
Well, it's just to wrap up the last segment. There's a lot of moving parts there. And am I preaching doom and gloom for motor racing as we currently know it? Not really, but am I saying be mindful, folks? Look out, because the people sneak up on us, and I'll leave it at that. But yeah, Trans Am. So Trans Am has had massive growth the last few years. I mean, it is I've said it's maybe the biggest bang for the buck out there in professional motorsports. You got Trans Am, the 750 horsepower fire-breathing monsters, and then you got Trans Am 2, which is essentially a lower horsepower version of Trans Am.
Right.
I mean, they're getting 40, 50 cars a race.
Yeah.
John Claggett and his team, and Tony Perella, who bought the series years ago, have done a phenomenal job at building an incredibly exciting. Again, let's get back to the noise. These things are fire-breathing, ear-offending, body-shaking monsters. Trans Am and Trans Am 2.
Yeah.
No traction control, none of this electronic bullshit, none autonomous. If you went to John Claggett and Tony Perella and said, we're going to make your Trans Am cars autonomous, there'd be a fight. I'd throw up my mouth. That's what makes Trans Am so exciting and growing in incredibly crazy numbers, because it is totally offensive to every sense in your body. So we can talk about something we probably shouldn't, but it's massively overwhelming. And to see 6-foot flames come out of these cars when they downshift ahead into the corners, no traction control. You got to save your tires. You can't just drive the car like a crazy person, because you're going to run out of tire, and then when you're out of tire, you can't put the rubber on the road. You never got any rubber left, and now you got a slow race car. But that's what Trans Am has done, and they've done it in a great fashion. Hats off to those guys. And there ain't no autonomous bullshit going on over there. And you don't have a computer driving the car, and you don't have a mannequin behind the wheel.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. So let's move on over to our original topic here, IndyCar. And there's an announcement.
Well, so recently, and I know you've become a big IndyCar fan, and we've become good friends with all the drivers. That's what we've done for 20 plus years, and Santino Ferrucci and I have become good friends. Congratulations to Santino this year for getting a full-time drive. He's Mr. Big Balls. He's a pretty impressive cat, and now he's doing some Trans Am stuff. So IndyCar. And don't get me wrong, I love IndyCar. I raced with the series formerly known as Champ Car in the Champ Car Atlantic series in Formula Atlantic. Many friends over there. It's now Champ Car has become IndyCar, of course. A lot of those drivers and team owners and mechanics have morphed over. And IndyCar has been on a great growth path the last few years. Well, then Penske comes in, buys it up, buys the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's got Penske Entertainment. There's nothing not to like about Indy cars, except for maybe, the Long Beach Grand Prix that's my home away from home. So I get it. I produce and put on a lot of events every year. I understand the festival environment. I understand you've got to make it exciting. You've got to give the tier 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10s something to come for besides just a race, because the farther you reach that audience skew out, the more people come, the more money you make, the more successful events you have. I get that. I do that with my events. Like our Daytona, 16th annual Daytona party coming up February 19th at Podium Karting and Event Center here in Denver. Sid will be there doing all her good stuff. But, if you're here in the Mile High, we have people come from other states. So that's become that big a deal. But it's an event. It's a lot of fun. We got axe throwing, we got go-kart racing, and we have great food, and we've got, the Daytona 500, on 50 TVs. I get it. But I'm not sure. A lot of pundits and a lot of people that really understand motor racing, not just IndyCar, but motor racing, and some that are very embedded in, the NTT IndyCar series are saying this is a big risk. So what they've done, the Iowa Corn 300 or whatever they call it the past few years, used to be a single race during the day in the middle of the summer in Iowa when it's 110 degrees outside, 90% humidity, and was a driver killer. I remember Ryan Hunter-Reay a few years ago won the race and literally had to be pulled out of his car, and he said, please make this a night race. So he did.
Well, they did. Okay.
Yeah, that's what they did.
Yeah.
or at least a late afternoon race, or something more,
Tolerable?
more survivable might be the word.
Oh.
And they had a hard time getting fans there too, because how's it going to sit in an aluminum grandstand when it's 100 degrees outside or higher with 90% humidity? It just doesn't make sense. So they made a lot of changes, and it's become a very popular race. It's in the middle of Iowa. It's in Newton, Iowa, at a really exciting racetrack. It's kind of like driving IndyCars inside a cereal bowl, and it's cool. But it's been kind of a race that's kind of just out there. I mean, Long Beach Grand Prix has all reasons to go to Long Beach. St. Petersburg, of course, the Indianapolis 500, the greatest spectacle in racing. But they want to drive attendance up to Newton. I get it. I was just in Knoxville. But there ain't a lot to do in the middle of Iowa in the summer.
Right.
They got an IndyCar race. So now what they've done is they've tried to turn this into a real festival. I get it. Again, I get it. Reach out to not just the hardcore IndyCar fans. Let's pack the place, because it's never really been packed, and make a big festival. So I got to refer to my notes here, right here.
Okay.
Carrie Underwood, Ed Sheeran, Kenny Chesney,
wow.
Zach Brown Band. I've heard of those people.
Wow.
So they basically turned it into I grew up with Day on the Green in the Oakland Coliseum, 70,000 people. So
yeah,
they basically turned it, in a lot of people's opinions, into a rock concert that happens to have 2 days of really great IndyCar racing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. That's pretty much.
Here's the worst part. Yeah, but here's the worst part, Sid. Ticket prices have tripled. And they've greatly reduced the $100, what they call flex ticket.
Yeah.
Which meant you could come to the race. Well, I won't get into all that.
Wait, hold on. What's a flex ticket?
I don't know. I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a flex ticket. But they've cut those. The flex tickets used to be $50. Now they're $100, and they've reduced the amount of them by a lot. And so now to come, unless you live in Newton, it's still going to cost you a boatload of money. I mean, what was $100 is now going to cost you $400. But to travel to Newton, yay. In the middle of summer when it's hot and humid, yay. And if I go from Denver and drive to Newton, stay in a hotel, get 3 days worth of tickets, it's going to cost me $600 to $1,000.
Right.
I think it's risky. Now, having said that, it could come off and everybody comes out smelling like roses. I don't think there's a middle of road on this deal. I think it could be a massive failure or very successful. But here's the tipping point. Pricing, time of year, weather, and if it becomes a rock concert, that's not what that deal's about. It's not a rock concert. It's a race with entertainment, not a rock concert that a race breaks out at.
Well,
they could kill off the IndyCar component of that and just turn it into a rock concert, which I guess would be okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely
not my jam.
They're definitely taking away from the actual sport and event, but at the same time, it's like it sort of points to like the same thing that like NASCAR did that we're talking about, where it's there. Yes, it sort of takes away from just the race, but it also provides an opportunity for a new audience and for more people to check it out.
And I get that, because the more you reach out, like Race Central TV, that's right. I've had people say we're kind of a smorgasbord because we've got something for everybody. That skews huge audience. But the pricing concerns me. The economy is weird. There's just a lot of moving parts there. And Hy-Vee gets it. I mean, they really do. They're smart people. At the Knoxville Nationals, they had their semis driving up and down the main road in front of the racetrack. There was one every 5 minutes, all lit up. But talk about great rolling billboards. Boring as hell if you're a truck driver doing that, but they get it. I don't know. I hope for the best because I love IndyCar racing. But if it does what it's supposed to do, and they have a sold-out grandstand, and people can't wait to get in, and it's hard to get tickets. Next year will be even bigger and better. And then maybe they can bring Mick Jagger back or something. How about Black Sabbath?
Well,
I hope it works because it's going to expose IndyCar racing to a whole different audience of folks.
absolutely.
But I'm not sure. Could it be a one and done? Those folks came, they saw an IndyCar race, they went to a concert, and if they decided to bring the concert aspect back in the future, those people say, "Well, I went for the party. I went for the party and the concert."
Yeah,
it's very risky. But people at Penske Entertainment are pretty smart. I'm sure there's some bean counter somewhere in the back room that has figured it all out. But I still think it's a big gamble. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it definitely is a gamble because I think that we'll only know if it's a success or a failure. I mean, of course, you could gauge that by ticket sales, but I think you'll only know if it's a success or a failure for the sport. You won't know that until the next year if they do it again or they don't do it.
You're exactly right, Sid. Now, of course, promoters never tell us the truth. And a lot of times that's why they don't announce fans in the stands because they don't want you to know. That's the eyeball test. But yeah, we'll know before next year because if the eyeball test says there's nobody there,
yeah,
and the tickets, I mean, they probably won't tell us how many tickets were sold. They'll give us an estimate or something. But if they don't do it again, thing is though, I mean, you bring Hackett back because Hackett can't hack it. Do you give a second chance to see how bad he can be the next year? If Penske does it all over again, that still may not be the defining answer because they have the deep pockets and the ability to take an event that maybe didn't work the way they would hoped it did and bring it back to see if it gets some traction in year two. I don't think one and done is the case. And if it is, boy, that's really not good.
Well, Carrie Underwood, Zach Brown Band, Ed Sheeran, they push tickets. So people are going to be there. Yeah, I think that people will be there. They'll sell tickets. But
Sid, and so they did that, not to interrupt you, but that's what I do. So the model they used was they priced tickets similar to other major rock concerts across America over the past year or two.
Yeah.
But not IndyCar races. They priced it according to a rock concert pricing model.
Yeah. I'd like to see the advertisement. Like, are they advertising it as an IndyCar race with it?
Fuck yeah.
They are. Okay. So, okay. Well, that's as long as they just maintain that this is about IndyCar, that's good. That's better. But
let me tell you another good topic or point to bring up as it gets closer. It's like elections, Democrats are over here, Republicans are over here. Let me do that. And then as it gets closer to the election, they all kind of come to the middle. But if you see 2 or 3 months out that they are hammering away on the musical talent and minimizing the fact it's an IndyCar race in 100-degree temperatures with 100% humidity, if they start pushing hard the concert side of it, that may tell us a lot or be telling where their focus is going, both if they put fans in the stands. So, you want to go to the middle of Iowa and 100-degree temperatures in the middle of the summer for $300, $400?
I mean, I do.
Okay, well,
it honestly sounds sick. Like, it sounds like Americana, like classic. Like,
well, I get that, and because that is, I mean, I got to tell you, if you were at the Knoxville Nationals and you started kneeling when they were playing the national anthem, somebody's going to, you probably aren't going to feel good.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bad day. It's Americana. But the reality of it is that it's the pricing. It's the middle of America. It's not Long Beach. It's not St. Petersburg. And it's not the Indy 500.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
And when is this event supposed to take place?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know what I'm talking about. No, it's, I want to say it's June or July in Iowa.
Wow. And they're just now coming out with this?
Yeah. I mean, you want, I can go to the IndyCar schedule here real quick and tell you. Do you want me to look it up?
Yeah. Please.
Okay, bye-bye. See you later. IndyCar schedule.
We can still see you.
This is cool. A visual. Oh, you can see me?
Yeah.
I'm glad you told me. I won't pick my nose or anything like that. I know, I'm gross. So here we go. It is Iowa Speedway, July 22nd and 23rd. Whoa. That is going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty soon.
Yeah, and I was back there, like I say, for Knoxville Nationals, and just a little bit later, the first couple of weeks of August, it sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice and toasty warm, which is good for an old guy like me with a broken jaw and a bad hip. But it's stifling.
Yes, right. It does not sound like a pleasant place to be, but it sounds kind of cool.
But if the concerts are exciting enough and entertaining enough, and they always have good racing there, always. So, the race of the corn is always a good race. It's just stifling. And, if it's a long day and you're hanging around for the concerts and you're just worn out. I mean, now we're really we're getting way out there.
Yeah.
But these are all things that a promoter has to consider because it's got to be fan friendly. It's only There's only one reason they brought all the concert acts in: fans,
right,
and money. And they go fans and money. They go hand in hand.
Hand in hand. Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to more on that to come, right? We'll see how that goes. I thought this was a great episode. Thanks everyone for tuning in. This is again episode 4, already 4 deep in Race Central Unplugged.
Frightening. And next week, we're going to talk a lot of Santino Ferrucci. Maybe we'll get him live on the program, or maybe we'll play. We had a bunch of great interviews. Last interview after he signed his new deal for 2023. Maybe a little Scott Atherton, one of the most powerful people in the world of motorsports, former president of IMSA, International Motorsports Association. I would say we'll have Dale Earnhardt on, but that'd be a tough get. Did I just say that?
Danica Patrick is coming on next episode.
Right. Well, actually, I know DP, but she's kind of doing her own thing now. She's made a lot of money in racing. She's actually a very cool cat.
Well, keep watching.
I like DP a lot.
Everyone keep watching the show, and hopefully we'll get her on.
Yeah, or off.
Yeah.
I don't mean that way. They just mean, or we won't have her.
Okay. All right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I got you. Okay. Well, again, thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been episode 4 of Race Central Unplugged. Again, I'm your host, Sid the Kid. This is also your host, Kurt Hansen. Make sure you tune in on Thursdays for this podcast, but then also tune in live from 3 to 5 on ESPN Denver 1600. You can stream that on denverfan.com. And if you missed the show...
And also racecentralmedia.com, the site that you manage.
Also racecentralmedia.com. And if you missed the show, you can't tune in live, you can't stream it, you can always listen to the podcast that gets posted on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. You can find the audio of that on racecentralmedia.com. And also denverfan.com.
YouTube.
And YouTube. Yes, of course.
All right, Sid, great job.
All right, everyone. See ya.